Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Andrew Furey says he is stepping down and leaving politics.
The time has come for me to return to my family and to the job that I love in the operating room, where I will.
With a little less than 5 years in office, the Premier said he could not commit to another full term in office and plans to return to his job as an orthopedic surgeon. Premier Furey also admitted he cannot deal with another 4 years of U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, this follows last week's resignation from PEI Premier Dennis King. For more, I am joined by Professor of Political Science at Dalhousie University, Laurie Turnbull. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What is happening? This is the second Atlantic Premier to resign in the past week. We know PEI Premier Dennis King said he was stepping away. Any connection between these two?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's probably a common, if anything, if there's anything connecting it, it's sort of a common, I've come to the end of the line on this and I don't want to do much more. And if I'm not going to be in for another term, maybe this is where I draw the line. I think it's hard. It's hard for anybody to decide when are they going to step away in politics. And I mean, obviously we can look at what's happening at the provincial level and then compare it to what has happened at the federal level, where people had this, waiting for the prime minister to decide he was going to step aside. And then that coming, and of course, now we can see all the changes that have happened politically, federally since that happened. I mean, it really does sound like both of them, they're in a good place. They're a good place health-wise, family-wise, even politically. These are popular premiers, but they've had enough.
You've had enough. Time was done. Newfoundland and Labrador is set to hold a provincial election in October. Why do you think Andrew Furey wanted to step down now?
I think he wants to give his party enough time, enough runway to choose a new leader so that they're in a good situation in time for the next election. That's a tricky question. And again, obviously, federally, Trudeau didn't decide to step away until January 6th, leaving, at that point, the fixed election is in October, but knowing that the opposition parties are ready to pull the plug, immediately, that has made for a truncated Liberal leadership race. And I mean, most people don't want to be in that situation. I think if Furey knew he was going to say, okay, fine, I'll get out of the way and let people choose a leader in time for the next election.
And one of the reasons he did say he was resigning, he says, is U.S. President Donald Trump. How could Trump's tariffs impact Newfoundland and Labrador?
Oh, I mean, they're going to have a significant impact if they go ahead. Provincial economies Mark Carney has talked about how Canada has regional economies, not a national economy, and provinces have different trade relationships with the U.S., with other partners. And certainly this is going to be something that whoever the next premier of Newfoundland is going to have to, pick that up and make this his top priority. You get the sense from Premier Furey's comments that, since he's been premier, although it hasn't been that long, it's like he's had COVID to deal with. He's had so many things. And now Trump, and he says, Trump's a maniac. Like, this guy is not somebody who you can develop any kind of predictable way of going about your business. It's a different thing. Well, like, when you decide you're going to be the premier of a province, you're signing up for something. Having to deal with Donald Trump, and his unpredictability and the potential effect on your economy, on your industries, on your people, everything else, that is a whole different thing. And maybe Furey is saying, yeah, I didn't sign up for that part, and so I'm gonna get out.
Kind of sounds like that, doesn't it? So when we look at his time as Premier Furey, what has he been able to accomplish for his province?
I mean, I can remember with the last election in Newfoundland, and that was the one that ended up going, I think, entirely by mail, because they had no COVID cases going in, and then they ended up with some kind of outbreak, and then they had to basically move the whole election by mail so that people weren't put at risk. So even from the get-go, yikes, Furey's time was just, he's one of the COVID premiers. I mean, Newfoundland is a province that has economic struggles. Furey has tried to work on those things. Like every other premier, he has tried to work with the federal government in terms of trying to get more for healthcare and put the province in a more competitive position. And I think, often he has been the only Liberal premier at a time when most of the other premiers are conservative and are having that partisan conflict with the prime minister. He was also one of the premiers premiers who called for the end of the carbon tax, which I think put him in a tricky situation with Trudeau's PMO, again, because of that liberal overlap. But he was one of the premiers who said, we can't do this anymore. And so looking back, right, like he hasn't had an easy time. This hasn't been an eventless kind of 4 or 5 years. And so I can imagine seeing Trump coming around the corner and thinking, nope, I
am exhausted. Right. Yeah. All right. Professor Laurie Turnbull, thanks for chatting with us today. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.